And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and I'm your host for this evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Today, we're doing a reaction video of another one of School of Life's videos. School of Life, fantastic channel, and it was kind of interesting one, the last one, but this time, I think it's going to be interesting, because they're now talking about, what was it again? Let's see. Why boys are mean to girls they like. Okay, so this can be quite interesting here. Let's see, take the sound up and let's get going.
We spend a lot of our lives lying to someone very close to home, ourselves. We lie because so many of the things we feel are humiliating, challenging, strange, and unflattering.
Okay, first of all, let's look at relationships. Let's look at people. Let's try to understand what's going on here. First of all, everyone in their childhood are feminine. Perfect. That's how it's supposed to be, okay? What do I mean by feminine? I'm meaning emotionally inconsistent, being all over the place, not being able to control their emotions, not being able to control themselves, not being able to control their thoughts or what they express. And this is what makes life fun, okay? Seeing your kids just simply being kids, being who they are and not being afraid of what other people are going to think, etc., is beautiful. It's awesome. And then they grow up because we basically, destroy their lives by saying no all the time, by being mean to, like by being so strict with them and telling them what to do all the time and telling them to sit down and be quiet and da 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 da. Over time, there's a problem with that because men are supposed to now, when they get to their when they get to puberty, there's a change going on which is supposed to lead them towards masculinity. It's their sperm production. This is a good thing, obviously. And then they're going through now this metamorphosis stage of trying to become more manly. Or are they? That's the thing. Very often in these days, where boys are not being taught to become masculine and what it means. What it really means is simply learning to become emotionally consistent and being able to control one's thoughts, one's emotions, and one's expressions of those emotions, and also thereby their controlling their behavior and habits, and thereby their destiny. Okay, so that's what masculinity is. And for femininity, their design, nature's design, is to remain in their femininity forever. Okay? Never ever grow up. Why would you want to grow up? It's not fun to be grown up for a girl. Oh, but I have to take more responsibility and all this stuff. Why do you have to do that when you can find a true man of high value who will protect you? He'll protect your emotions. He'll make sure that the environment around you is awesome. Other than that, he'll also provide you with the financials of life the way that it's supposed to be. Okay? But it's a man of high value. You have to have a man of high value in order for you to experience the bliss that life has to offer. Okay? Because then you'll be allowed to remain in your femininity forever. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about what other people are going to think, especially in the Three Girls in Love system that we have on this channel. But let's go back into now this video. I just think it's so weird that they say that there's a lot of times when we feel humiliating, challenging, strange, what our emotions feel like that. That's just, like, why? Okay? Like, that's not necessary for anyone to feel. If a man feels this, it's because he's not sharing it with other men who accept and love him. Meaning, his father very often was not there and was not accepting of his emotions. Okay, and told him that, no, you don't talk like that, and don't blah, 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 don't cry, don't do this, don't that. Very often then, men especially, then turn inward and begin to be closed off to anyone and everyone because they feel that they're strange. They feel that they're humiliating. They feel like something's wrong with them. And this takes a hit on their self-worth and their psyche. That's not necessary, because if they understand that they used to be feminine, very feminine, and then they've simply remained in that femininity, which causes them to have thoughts and emotions that women would have, okay, because they're still feminine. But what's the goal then is to express those thoughts and feelings to someone that they trust, who will accept them and love them for who they are, and then let go of them, because that's not who they want to be. Because if that's who they wanted to be, then why is it humiliating or strange or unflattering? Like, do you want to think humiliating thoughts and strange thoughts and unflattering thoughts? No. So, okay, so let's be accepted, and then let's move on. That's what I would say to a guy who have these thoughts. And then he'd be on his way and he'd be progressing towards where he wants to go. That makes sense. He's being held back by those emotions, and there's no point for that. So, just explaining that briefly about guys. I know you guys are girls, hopefully, right? You know, I'm beginning to have some guys on this channel, but this channel is for women. I want them to understand Three Girls in Love. I want them to understand men. I want them to understand themselves. Because if we can have two channels where one is for men, one is for women, it's absolutely beautiful. But I think it's important for guys to also understand women, so they're welcome on this channel as well. So anyway, let's move on.
We don't just forget to acknowledge our feelings. One part of the mind actively shields the other from uncomfortable truths. But the cost of our denial is high because emotions that have not been properly confronted lead to psychological impoverishment
Well, let's
from
just get
uncomfortable truths.
let's just talk about this one for a second. Our brains are divided by two. One is the rational brain, one's the creative brain. Or you can also call them the masculine part of the brain. You can also call them the feminine part of the brain. Very often, what people don't understand is that when a man develops his masculine brain to the nth degree, that's when his right brain begins to blossom amazingly. Okay, like, because very often they try to build up their creative brain, their feminine brain, but the fact that they're not building up their masculine brain at the same time causes this one to not fulfill its true potential. It's kind of like it's kind of like someone, trying to give you an example, but it doesn't matter. The whole point is uncomfortable truths come from the rational brain. Because you're thinking with your creative brain or your feminine brain as a guy, then you won't be able to completely move towards your dreams and goals. Because you'll be emotionally inconsistent. You won't be able to control this part of the brain, or in other words, you won't be able to control your thoughts, control your behaviors, control everything. Your creative brain will be on overdrive and be all over the place. You want your creative brain to be in control, or to be controlled by your rational brain as a man. As a woman, you want your creative brain to do everything and anything and enjoy itself. And your rational brain will be focused on making sure that the creative aspect is absolutely beautiful. Anyway, I'm not going to explain about that anymore, but the whole point is uncomfortable truths from the masculine side. That's the rationality of things, and then very often men remain in their femininity. It's a problem.
But the cost of our denial is high because emotions that have not been properly confronted lead to psychological impoverishment, brittleness, rage, and deceit.
Absolutely. I completely agree with this. This is genius. Bringing up that if you haven't confronted your emotions, that's the results you're going to get as a guy. And you as a woman don't want to be with the guy that hasn't faced himself, that hasn't confronted his emotions, that hasn't gone through his issues and solved them. The fact of the matter is that femininity has a lot of issues, a lot of problems. If the man sucks, and if the man has problems himself, right? Because what ends up happening is that she's feminine and trying to remain in her femininity, but because he can't, she has to. In other words, if he doesn't provide well, then she will be like, okay, well then maybe I need to help out, and she will strive to become masculine. If the man has issues and problems and all that stuff, then she's like, oh, okay, I guess I need to solve my own problems and issues, and maybe I have to solve his problems too, and solve our relationship issues, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, it's too much for her. And that's when she doesn't have any more capacity to care about the feminine counterpart who was supposed to be masculine. You see the issues there. That's a problem. And then people say that, oh, it takes two to tango, and like the relationship broke up because of this and that and the other. The only reason why there's ever a breakup is because the man sucks. Plain and simple. If the man was freaking awesome, the woman would have no reason to break up ever. Like, this is how you figure out how can you make the man absolutely awesome. How can you make him motivated to to move towards becoming more masculine? How can you get him fired up outside his brain about his dreams and goals and achieve them, and also change the things that he does that the women don't like? You have to understand men. You have to understand their psyche and how they function. And they're very simple to understand. Once you understand them, you just shower them with the things that they need and they'll be amazing. Okay? That's how it functions. But it doesn't work that way very often, does it? So you end up having men who suck, women who are with them, and then there's issues back and forth. The woman escalate things because she has intense emotions about certain things, and then the man, if he's feminine, guess what he's going to do? He's going to escalate it even more. And because both of them care and have to win because they're both somewhat masculine as well, the woman will escalate things further, and then the man, and then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and then the woman's like, I can't handle this anymore. This is way too much for me. Da da da. So if you guys understand this aspect, only as a woman, be with the man who has no issues. And then you'd be like, oh, but there's no guys that have no issues. That's what we're creating on the Men of High Value channel. Guys who have no issues. Guys who've overcome their sexual desire issues by living semen retention. Guys who have overcome their porn issues and understand that porn is a huge problem for a large majority of guys. Like, we're talking 80% plus. So if you can find a guy that doesn't fit into that aspect, okay, and if he says that he's not watching that stuff, he's probably lying. Okay? So how can you confirm that he doesn't watch that stuff? A man of high value, maybe, receiving a stamp of approval. Perhaps. That might be a good thing. Or a guy who's also gotten through his issues because he's accepted and let go of the issues that he's had from the past. How do you know if a guy has gone through that aspect? The way you know is by seeing if he's ever emotionally inconsistent. Is the guy that you're with ever emotionally inconsistent? But how do you really know? Because, we in the last video that we made on the, which channel was that? I think it was this one, where we were talking about the Jubilee with the couple and the CEO and his fiance, whatever. She had never seen him mad and emotionally unstable. Oh, suddenly they move in together after 3 years and then he's emotionally unstable. So obviously he hadn't cleared all of his issues. Do you understand what I mean? So anyway, we're moving on with the video, but man, if you can find a masculine man and he receives a stamp of approval that he's a man of high value, that he's been consistent, that he's solved his issues and problems, you're going to have an amazing life as a woman.
It is deeply uncomfortable to want something that one can't have. So, a standard form of denial is to reinvent how much one ever really wanted the elusive element in the first place.
What the heck is this? What? Like, okay, so there's a guy, obviously, who has dreams and goals, and then he's like, can I have this? Can I not have this? Oh, I can't have it. Okay, first of all, that mindset in general is feminine. A masculine man always achieves his goals. Always. And guess what? He's also grateful and fired up about the goals he chooses because he has the ability to decide what he wants and then to go for it and then to achieve it. And then not only that, but he's forgotten all about the other choices that were available to him. That's what masculine men do. Femininity, however, they don't make a decision. They go through a long period of time. If they don't have what they want or something is not fulfilling their emotions, they don't know what is going on, blah, blah, blah. Masculine men don't go through that. Masculine men know exactly what it is that they want because they understand their emotions that are pretty much not that, they're kind of non-existent in the beginning. Like, masculine men have so simple emotions. Can I say it like that? They have emotions, but it's very simple and it's very focused. How can I explain this? Like, if they go through, if they're emotionally consistent, then they're emotionally consistent, which means that there's only an emotion. Like, there's only one emotion. Continuously. And that emotion stays with them no matter what it is that they do, and no matter what it is that they focus on, no matter what it is. Do you understand what I mean? Like, the more they have to diversify their emotions, and their emotions are all over the place, the more feminine they are. But if they're masculine, they'll know exactly what they want and they'll run towards it. They'll focus. That's masculinity. This graph right here is warped. Like, I don't know what else to say about it than that, because a masculine man will always get what he wants. This is ridiculous. So if you're a feminine man, then you won't be able to get what you want because you don't have any options. Masculinity is always having options. If you are rejected by someone or something, you'll find tons of other options that work for you. Let's say, for example, as a man, he has a full-time job and he absolutely hates it and he can't get the job that he wants. You know what he does if he can't get the job that he wants? He creates the job by building a business, by creating another option that's even better than the first option. Does that make sense? If a girl doesn't want a guy, a masculine man, then he'll be like, okay, that's funny. That's hilarious that she doesn't want me. Or he figures out why she doesn't want him. Like, that doesn't make any sense. If it's because she's with another guy that's better than him, or that for some reason she just chosen that guy and they're in love, like, first of all, why would a masculine man ever step on someone's property by wanting another man's woman? A masculine man would never do that because he understands property rights in essence. And I'm not saying that that women are men's property. I'm also saying on my channels that men are women's property once they're in a proper relationship. But what I'm saying is that a masculine man has options. Always. So he's never, ever in the aspect of, can I have it? Nope. Yes, can I please? Okay, that's feminine.
We reevaluate what a thing means to us. It might be a job, a holiday, or a person. When it becomes clear, it can never be ours. It takes
Exactly. Just what I've said before. That's ridiculous. Come on. If you're still alive, there's still hope. You can always grow to become the man who gets the things that he wants. As a man. As a woman, do you want to be with someone who doesn't believe that he can have what he wants? Yuck. Please, don't. Okay? Qualify for a man of high value.
takes exceptional maturity to hold on to the idea that something might be at once precious and yet forever and maddeningly out of reach.
Okay,
What's precious?
like, is there something in life that we really cannot have? Let's look at the example. Okay, a masculine man of high value, he says, I really wish I could have the government never ever tax me. That would be freaking awesome. Okay, that's a masculine man looking at the situation. So that's the precious thing that he the elusive thing he would want. So what does he do? Well, you know what? He bites the apple and he just pays taxes like everyone else. But as a masculine man, he continuously fights, okay, or struggles is the right word, because he's non-violent when that's the correct thing to do. But he will continuously throughout his life struggle towards making the government never ever tax him. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, so he might not be able to get it, but he understands that in the long run and in the big scheme of things, there is a possibility that he can and will have fought a worthy cause. Does that make sense? So that, like, he's working towards a huge project that might not be his in his lifetime, but who freaking cares? A masculine man does things for his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and he fights the important fight, if that makes sense. It's the same thing with death. A masculine man will look at death and see, that's a problem that I know can be solved, but I probably won't be able to solve it in this lifetime. So, but I'm going to work towards it in solving it one small step at a time. And I'm not going to have issues or emotional issues because I cannot solve the tax problem or I cannot solve the death problem. Does that make sense? So he doesn't have issues with it. He sticks to it no matter what, if that's the thing that he's passionate about and he wants to solve. If that makes sense. Femininity, like looks at the smallest of things and be like, I can't have it.
And yet forever and maddeningly out of reach. Perhaps you were 14 and entering a new class when you noticed an extraordinary new student, taller than you, with grey-green eyes, thick open hair, and an...
Did he just say taller than you? What is going on? Like, oh my gosh. Okay, masculine men by nature want something that's vulnerable, which includes very often that they're smaller than them. Okay, so if you're short as a woman, know that there are guys out there who desire you. Trust me on this. And they'll be in love for you for the rest of their lives because you're vulnerable and feminine. Okay, and maybe you're beautiful too. That would be awesome. But do you understand what I mean? Like, from the aspect of someone who's taller, that's ridiculous. A masculine man wouldn't want that. A feminine man, however, he goes for anything that wants him. He'll be like, oh, she's taller, doesn't matter to me. And she's she may be massively overweight. Oh, I don't have a problem with that. And she's older than me. She's 20 years older than me. Like, feminine men have a very low standard for the women that they bring into their lives. A masculine man will have a high standard, but he'll also be accepting, and if he accepts someone who is a little bit lower than his standard, he will work tirelessly his entire life to bring her up. Isn't that what you want in a masculine man? Someone who loves you and accepts you for who you are, yet he improves the environment in such a way that instead of you being an 8 for the rest of your life, you will become a 10. Because he's masculine and he'll solve the problem and solve the environment for you so that you can become a 10. Does that make sense? For him. He's doing it for him. He's achieving his goal of you being absolutely flippin' amazing. If that makes sense. So, feminine men, I don't know. Do you want one?
intelligent wry smile. They were one of the most charming people you'd ever encountered, and also utterly beyond you.
Femininity also desires someone that is better than him. Masculinity, he knows he's amazing from the get-go. So he knows he can get pretty much any girl he wants, and he'll take the best one that he wants. Do you understand what I mean? Because he has a lot of choices. A man who's feminine won't. Like, he will accept what's in front of him and or not be able to choose her because he sucks and he has a low self-worth.
You were pimply and immature, you couldn't do sports, you weren't great at languages.
However, this guy is 14, as spoken of on this channel or on this video. So what can we really expect from a 14-year-old guy in terms of having a desire for being with women? Understand what I teach on the Men of High Value channel. I teach them to quit school. Like, I teach them to be homeschooled from the age of 12, or once their puberty starts, once their sperm production really gets in effect, so that they can work. Okay? Like, child labor, no, not so much. I'm talking about 13, 14, 15-year-olds, getting the necessary permissions by government and by parents to be allowed to work full-time. And if they're not allowed to work full-time, at least do homeschooling and then focus on building a business online, because if they're freelancers, no one can stop them. So if you understand this aspect, a 14-year-old would never, ever want one girl in the Men of High Value system. Now, elsewhere, if you're gonna find weird stuff everywhere else. On the Men of High Value channel, what you'll find are guys who have been voluntary celibate and practiced semen retention for a long period of time until they had their financial foundation ready. Now, once they get their financial foundation, they've got confidence built up over time. So I tell them, you don't set the goal of $1 million for the $1 million. You set the goal of $1 million for who you become in the process of achieving those $1 million. Okay, so that's Jim Rohn speaking. And the reason why I tell that to them is because they suck. And they don't want to be stuck with a woman who sucks just as much as they do for the rest of their lives. We want men to have a high standard, because guess what happens? If a man has a high standard for himself, that will elevate a woman's standard for herself. Not only this, but it will motivate her outside her brain to be the best self that she is, right? For him. Because that's what women are attracted to: power, someone that's better than them. Femininity loves that which has more power than them.
Of course, you might have tried to become their friend. You might have shared jokes and chit-chat.
Okay, that's him entering the friend zone, which is great if he wants to be a friend. If he wants her to be attracted to him, then probably the best thing would be to initiate and then leave her behind, right? Because women need that little rejection in order for them to run towards you. It's so insane how couples and dynamics work, but we teach about this on this channel. We'll help you if you need the dating advice and all that stuff. But in my opinion, dating is massively overrated, and like we can combine people with people a lot better than what dating can. But yeah.
But this kind of compromise would have hurt too much. So, to reduce the pain, you became nasty. You started to hate the person you liked. You sought to spoil because you could not have. You became mean where you would at one level have wanted to worship. You called them a stuck-up idiot and worse. You organized a group to torment them. One time you stole their scarf. You escaped your feelings through a denigration that hid not hatred, but at base a passionate, secret love.
Yes and no. Let me explain this one a little bit. First of all, if he's very feminine and does those things by nature, he's like, mean boys very often are mean to everyone. Like, if they're really mean. Okay, and that's hurt people, right? Which basically comes from their childhood of being hurt by their parents and being bullied and being like, and going through self-worth issues, basically. Then they're gonna try to bully others in order for them to have more power than other people. Does that make sense? So men want power. And the only way, and this is also in their teenage years, but the only way that they can do that is by being mean. Because they know that they won't be the best in class when it comes to intelligence, because they've sucked their whole life and other people are moving way past them. They know that they're not the handsomest guys in the class. They know that they're, like, they have issues. They've got a lot of issues, and they feel that they're not winning at all ever. This is when you create bullies. Feminine creatures, that's what bullies are, who then use violence to get what they want, because that's the only way that they get what they want, because they're very focused on one thing, and that's power, because they don't have it, right? Someone who is successful in his classroom, he's got confidence because everyone likes him and all that stuff. Very often he doesn't have to be mean. He might have to be a little bit rejecting towards the girl that he likes, and that's probably what they're trying to talk about here, because what boys have noticed is that when boys tease girls and are a little bit mean to them, what ends up happening is that the woman becomes rejected. Rejection for a woman, because she cares, she's going to be emotionally involved. As long as he's not very mean to her, but just kind of teasing a little bit, tiny mean to her, she will look at him as being higher value than her. And that's going to create attraction between in that relationship. As long as he's confident when he's doing the teasing, then she's going to be interested in him, which is sick in many aspects. Not because women are sick, okay? It's just that it doesn't make any sense logically for men. But it's what works. So very often throughout their teenage years and in their 20s, they very often are kind of mean to women, and they don't care. And since they've noticed that not caring actually works in women being attracted to them, they choose to do that for a long period of time, and until they're players, and then they also don't care, and then they sleep around, and it becomes a huge problem that women reward that kind of behavior. It's an issue, and that issue wouldn't really be there if men and women were not spending time together on the school ground. I'm completely against schooling where men and women are gathering together as teenagers. Why? Because women or girls mature a lot more faster than guys, and yet they're still emotionally involved with immature guys. Guys that are younger than them, or the same age, or older than them, that are way more immature than them. Right? This is why girls very often like the guys that are a bit older than them, have a little bit more stature, who've progressed a little bit more further on their journey compared to the guys that are about the same age. Because they've got more experience, they're more mature, they got more confidence, blah blah blah. And the guys that are a little bit older, they know they've got confidence because she's younger than me and blah blah blah. Do you understand what I mean? So there's a double aspect to the mean thing. Yes, there are bullies, but very often they're mean to everyone, and then you've got some of the guys that are mean to only the girls that they're interested in, and that's a different aspect, but it kind of has to do with what's on this channel, but it's only because of femininity. A masculine man won't be mean to women ever. Why would he want to be mean to women? That doesn't make any sense. Now, he might tease them, but I think that's more of a monogamous thing. Like like kind of rude teasing, if you understand what I mean. Like if you see married couples and the man teases her all the time and she just accepts it, blah blah blah. That's very often you'll say that, oh, they have a nice polarity and the woman is attracted to the man and all that stuff. That's that relationship very often is kind of warped. It might work for them when the man is kind of mean to the woman, but it's really not nice. It really chips away at her self-worth and self-confidence. That's monogamy for you. In Three Girls in Love, the man will never ever have to be mean. He can actually be considerate of their emotions because the woman automatically looks at him as having power in the relationship, looks at him as being better than her. But he's not better than her, it's just that he has options whereby she does not. But she doesn't want options. The more feminine you are as a woman, why would you want to have multiple men? You don't. You just want one man. Okay, well, if you just want one man, then give him as much power as possible in the relationship. How do you do that? Automatically, it's done through polygyny and Three Girls in Love. However, you can also do it in monogamy, but it just becomes very difficult to achieve your purposes of remaining in your femininity and the man remaining in his masculinity continuously, because he'll become a hybrid the more time he spends with you. The more he'll become more feminine, you'll become more masculine, and there's going to be an imbalance of polarities in your relationship. Not only this, but what about once you have kids, or once you get a lot of problems, so once this and this and this happens? It's way better in Three Girls in Love because it actually is this problem solver all on its own. Like, women can literally remain in their femininity, and the man can have massive amounts of power without having to be mean in order for him to have power over them, if that makes sense. So let's move on and see what they have to say.
Sometimes our meanness takes drier, more intellectual forms. Perhaps at the office, you recently sent round a memo headed Recruitment Policies for Q4 Sales Team. In it, you argued in sober prose with numbered paragraphs that the company shouldn't in the future seek to recruit any more recent university graduates, on the grounds that they tended not to meet the expectations of clients. The need for this kind of high-flown self-deception began the day you first laid eyes on the new recruit, who seemed astonishingly young, enthusiastic, endearing, and desirable. The emotions you felt were a piece of madness for a married, middle-aged person. The target of your desire was
married, middle-aged person? Oh my gosh, like what the heck is this? Like no offense to School of Life, it's a pretty cool video. But in terms of explaining what's going on, like a married middle-aged guy, why would he look at anyone else that's not his partner? Monogamy. That's what happens. He doesn't get his fulfillment at home, so very often he'll look elsewhere. That's wrong, by the way, if you haven't noticed, okay? That produces very bad emotions in a woman. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, but isn't that what you're saying with polygyny and Three Girls in Love? No, no, no. A woman in Three Girls in Love would be the one who chooses the other women. Okay? Like if they're already living in monogamy and then she want, and they agree that they want Three Girls in Love, she's the one who chooses the women. It's not him. So you as a woman, you'll never be have to be fearful that he's gonna come home with someone, or that he's gonna choose someone that you don't know, or that it's gonna be a stranger. No, as a woman, you do the choosing. Now, it's way better as a woman if you're the one, or if you guys come together, the three women, before you've even met the guy, if possible. That you are three, you're a package, and meet this guy together, all of you. He's received the stamp of approval. He's an amazing guy, and he's trustworthy, is honorable, and he's got integrity, and he's got the money. That's when you guys together choose to give him power. Okay? Because you know what you're gonna get. Okay, and if that happens, then the guy, why would he want to even look at any other women ever for the rest of his life? Like, men have this visual aspect that very often our eyes will get the better of us for split seconds. Okay, but a man who's masculine will be able to control his thoughts, control his behavior, control his emotions, and that's why there's never going to be any form of escalation of that thought process that just slightly happened for a split second because he saw a beautiful woman. Do you understand what I mean? So he's always going to be faithful, always going to be disciplined about what he thinks in order for him to preserve his long-term picture, which is his family. In monogamy, it's way harder because he's feminine. When a man is feminine, he cannot control his emotions. He cannot control his thoughts. He cannot control himself. That's why very often women say that, oh, men and women are exactly the same. Because, men suck at disciplining themselves and women suck at disciplining themselves and everyone sucks, blah, blah, blah. No. That's feminine men. And masculine men, they're able to control themselves completely. And that's one of the reasons you also want a masculine man. This feminine guy out here, obviously he's going to be rejected. Good, because he's married, right? And, and he's not very open about what's going to happen, probably. And then he's going to be mean to other people, or yeah, we'll see.
23 with coltish energy and innocent friendliness. On the second week, they try to ask you what you've done on the weekend and mention that they tried windsurfing for the first time. You responded by being rather stern. With colleagues, you judged their performance in a critical way that seemed just about fair. At a committee meeting, you damned them with faint praise. And at the earliest opportunity, you made sure their contract was not renewed. Of course,
that usually happens if he sends out signals that he's interested, and then she doesn't really send those signals back. That could happen to a feminine guy. Very simple. Like, you'll say that, oh, it's not his fault, or it's her fault, or it's not, like, it becomes confusing, doesn't it? But also, why would he expect that she would be interested if the wife doesn't know? Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, obviously. So this is yeah.
Being honest about our real feelings doesn't mean we should always act on them. It's not a good idea to make every feeling known to those it concerns. The choice we face isn't between denial and inaction, or honesty followed by a brusque move on the people around us.
You also have to remember that this guy, for sure, has porn problems and ejaculation a lot. Because very often that's what's going to fuel his femininity, and he's going to develop an exponential growth of needs, or like chronic issues, by not being able to express his emotions and thoughts and feelings, etc. Because he can't tell them to anyone, because they're going to judge him. So he ends up being in this trap by himself, which kills his self-worth over time. This is what happens to every guy, basically, who gets stuck inwardly and has no one to talk to vent it out. Because that's femininity. He needs to have the ability to vent it out. And if he doesn't vent it out, he's going to vent it out, but in a different way, by being mean, by being rude, by being all of those things. He's going to be hurt, and that's why he's going to hurt other people. So understand that when people are rude to you, that's very often what's going on. If they're literally rude to you on social media or anywhere else, they're struggling with their own issues. And a masculine man would never struggle with this. Like, he never is rude on purpose in a rude manner. because like he has options, and he doesn't care because he's got goals. He's got more important things to do, if that makes sense.
We can accept many of our desires without needing to think we should do anything about them. The best way to overcome denial of some of our more impossible desires for people is to accept who we are, what we want, and then sometimes just sit with our hands firmly tied, reflecting sadly on the deep strangeness and unsatisfactoriness of the human condition.
What the heck? Listen to this one more time. This
On
is
the
ridiculous.
deep strangeness and unsatisfactoriness of the human condition.
The strangeness and unsatisfactoriness of the human condition. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. This is like femininity 101. Like this is, if you want a guy that's feminine, a guy that's kind of like this guy in this video, monogamy is the right thing for you. Oh my gosh, that's a bit mean. It's a bit rude, don't you think, Joseph? Well, I'm just explaining the truth the way it is. And that's just how it goes. Like you'll find a few percentage of guys, very few, okay, who are able to be disciplined, who are able to work towards their masculinity, achieving their goals, like guys like Grant Cardone and like Dwayne Johnson and all those other masculine guys, but they're few and far between. The probability that you're going to be able to find this amazing guy in monogamy that's not going to have his feminine issues is slim to none. Like it's so difficult to find that guy and to be in his vicinity and make sure that he chooses you and all that stuff. In Three Girls in Love, all women will have masculine men. All women will be provided luxuriously for. All women will be protected and will have a man who understands female nature. Like just from the probabilities and from the possibilities of Three Girls in Love, if he is the right guy and he actually received the stamp of approval, etc., you'll have an amazing lifestyle. And the human condition that he has and that you will get from Three Girls in Love will never be unsatisfactory, because you will have exactly what you want. And that will fuel you and your motivation like nothing else ever will. This is the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.